Okay, so part 3. The question was, how long does it take to become a full-fledged nun, and can you explain the process? So, I'm again gonna try really hard not to, but I might end up flooding you with way more information than you want, because my friends like to call me the walking dictionary of anything religious life related at all remotely. So, forewarned, this is also something that I'm very passionate about, and I know way more about religious life than your average Catholic. I would hesitate to say I even know way more about religious life than your average Catholic who's discerning religious life. So, having put that caveat out there, I will now answer your question by first going what may seem like way off topic. A lot of people don't realize that nuns can be consecrated virgins living in the world, actual nuns, or religious sisters. Yes, there's a difference. So there's 3 ways to live out a vocation to live celibate for the kingdom as a woman in the Catholic Church. There's living consecrated in the world, which is probably the most surprising to a lot of people. Even a lot of Catholics don't know that this vocation exists. Women who live consecrated in the world have their own house, have their own car, have their own job, have their own clothes. Really, if you saw one walking down the street, you wouldn't know that she was anything special. And they have all sorts of jobs. I know a consecrated virgin who does taxes for people. I also know a consecrated virgin who started from nothing a home for the terminally ill who can't afford to go anywhere else. Not such a normal job. So, you can kind of just do whatever it is God calls you to as far as job and how you live. And typically, the norm is not to start a hospice home. The norm is to have a normal career in whatever your chosen profession is. But on the inside, they are drastically different. Completely consecrated to God. Everything they do is to Him, with Him, and through Him. Well, everything we all do is, but it's a different mindset, I guess. Because they're living in the world, but they're living as His spouse in the world. And I have so much admiration for any woman who is called to this way of life, because I am pursuing a call to religious life. So I will have sisters around me who are living the same way of life as I am. And, who face the same struggles, who, have the same mindset, whereas the women who live consecrated in the world are in the world, like, totally. And in my mind, just because this analogy for spiritual life has always been really attractive to me, they're kind of like the spies on the front lines, whereas the women in religious life are more like the, behind the scenes workers, so to speak. Yeah, again, don't know if my analogies make sense to anyone else, but they work for me. So that's one. That process is completely different from either religious life or monastic life. So, yes, nuns and religious sisters are actually different. Gasp. Nobody really knows this except the nuns themselves. So, my understanding of it is nuns are cloistered and sisters are not. So, cloistered life means they enter the monastery and they don't leave. Now, there are varying levels of strictness of the vow of enclosure. Some don't leave at all. Some leave for medical emergencies. Some leave for just medical in general. But, you don't get to go home for Christmas, or, you know, your mother's funeral, or whatever. It's very very, I don't know how to say it. Why am I so bad at expressing this? This video is definitely going to be longer than 10 minutes, just to let you know, because it's already at 5 minutes. Cloistered women, their mission is to hide themselves from the world so that they can immerse themselves in the world, which sounds impossible and contradictory. And how can you be immersed in the world if you never leave your little bubble? But they're immersed in the world through prayer. And they don't really live in a bubble because, I mean, they get the newspaper and the radio, and some of them have TVs and computers, and they very carefully choose what information they get, but they're aware of what's going on in the world. They pray seriously for what's going on in the world. They pray for the church in the world. They pray for wars, countries, nations, everything. Their work that they do, their service, is prayer. And again, I have so much respect for these women as well, because, well, the consecrated virgins are on the front lines, literally, like, in the world. Cloistered nuns are on the front lines spiritually. And frequently, cloistered communities will have perpetual adoration. And, I mean, that's what they do, is they pray. And it's incredible. I actually spent a week with a group of nuns, discerning with them. And it was the most amazing thing to see, because, I mean, these women give up everything. One of them, it cracks me up. She asked her boyfriend to drive her to the monastery so she could talk to Mother about discerning with them, which cracks me up. The poor guy. Yeah, can you imagine that car ride? Like, oh, hey, boyfriend, will you take me to the monastery? What? Anyway, that was really off topic, but she has a great vocation story, and hearing her tell it was really fun. So there's 3 different ways of life as far as that goes. But then you have like the 50 zillion and 10 different ways you can live religious life, and the 50 zillion and 12 different ways you can live consecrated life, or cloistered life. It's all consecrated life, sorry. So it makes up approximately 104 zillion ways you can live out living celibate for the kingdom. So the process and the length of time varies greatly. That was the whole point of that 8-minute and 20-second explanation. Was it's really hard to answer your question because it depends. But I will tell you about the communities that I discerned with, which were all pretty basic, pretty standard. So yeah, typically it takes between 6 to 9 years once you enter. Discernment, there's no generality. I mean, I know some women who have been, like myself, discerning for as long as they can remember. I know some women who have known what community they're going to enter for as long as they can remember. Well, actually, I only know one woman who did that. She's really an amazing lady. I know some women who never, ever thought about religious life, and then went on retreat, and bam, they entered like 2 months later. Really funny story about that. One of the Dominican sisters from Ann Arbor, her poor parents, she told them that she was going on retreat like a day before she left. She told them she was entering. On her way home from the retreat where she got her acceptance letter, her parents were flying were flying home from some trip, and she was flying from Ann Arbor to her apartment. And they had a layover together for like 5 minutes, and she said, oh, by the way, guys, I'm entering the convent in August, and then had to go catch her plane. So, yeah, That was in, I think, like February when she told them. No, it was in May. She was on the May retreat when she got her acceptance. Anyway, so 3 months to like 5 years to, I mean, it just totally depends. But once you enter, it takes anywhere from between 6 to 9 years. According to church law, you have to have at least 6 years of formation. 1 year of postulancy, 2 of novitiate, and at least 3 of temporary vows. Typically, the average I've found is 7.5 or 8 years. But again, it just depends on the community. It depends on the person. So I'm just going to give you kind of the basic-ish overview, I guess. So the first year is your postulancy, which comes from that word meaning to ask. So the first year is very much, I'm about to run out of time again. Sorry, I will see you soon to explain this whole religious life thing and actually answer the question that was posed to me. DFTBA.